Welcome back. Here we are in Wrightstown, Wisconsin, at the River Coffee and Cream. This is an idyllic little spot. As you see behind me, the river is magnificent, and it kind of reminds me of the Mekong River, which of course was on the south side of Vientiane, Laos. This river is much more pristine than the one in Laos. The weather that we flew in back in those days was several different types. We had a smoke season when the Hmong would burn off the mountainsides to plant their poppies. And we also had a rainy season which followed the smoky season. And then we had a season where the weather was pristine. But, of course, the ones of note was the smoke season to start with. It was like flying in a milk bottle. And I enjoyed it because I knew the terrain intimately. And with new hired co-pilots, I could scare the hell out of them. One was going into Cybury, and I knew all the fence posts and things around and where to let down in the little mountain pass. And then as I got up on short final, I'd yell, "Ho, ho, there it is!" Of course, the poor new co-pilot would be totally in shock. But the rainy season was also the same way. You were flying in a constant rainstorm. And in fact, it was so bad, at times you expected to see whitecaps on the windscreen of the airplane. And they were almost whitecaps because it was a deluge. And the overhead in the cockpit was where all the switches were. There was an electrical panel up there. And there'd water be leaking out of there. And I always wondered why they didn't short out. But they didn't. But all of these things also contributed to fatalities. And some of these were really ridiculous. The 130 we lost in Laos had been letting down into going into alternate. Now the C-130 had a pilot, co-pilot, a flight engineer, and a navigator. Well, the navigator told him it was okay to come down. Well, they came down a little too early and impacted Phobia, which was the tallest mountain in Laos, 9,000 some feet. And we didn't have time to get in there to see what the wreckage was like, if there was any survivors, because of the weather. It was in solid cloud. And it took about a week and a half before a chopper was able to land nearby and they could go in and retrieve the remains, which no one did survive. However, prior to that, there was an emergency locator beacon that was activated on the impact, and it kept up its death dirge during that whole time on emergency frequency. And it was rather depressing to hear that all day long as you were flying up country on emergency frequency. But that was life. And we had many, many other little instances like that that were fatal and sad, particularly for those that remained. Thank you.